In this video, we will be talking about literary criticism and literary theories. Literary criticism can be applied to any argument that refers to literature. It is the process of judging one's literary work and issues. The earliest example of literary criticisms are in Plato's cautions against risky consequences of poetic inspirations of his work Republic. The literary theory that we have decided to talk about is post-colonialism. Post-colonialism is a literary theory that focuses on the political and economical conditions that have been impacted by the colonization of former colonies. The topic of post-colonialism began picking up as a literary movement in the mid-20th century. There were many classic texts that were published between 1950s and the 1990s that surrounded the topic of post-colonialism, and therefore shining more light on the topic itself. An example of post-colonialism in history would be in 1974, when India gained independence from the British. It forced the Indians to deal with the political, economical, and emotional effects of what the British had left behind.
So, what about authors? In today's society, there are many authors that use post-colonialism in their work and who are also advocates of it. The first author we're going to look at is Chinua Achebe. So Chinua Achebe is a very big advocate for post-colonialism. He thinks about that writing about it is his way of writing back to the colonizers that took away almost everything from his clan. So in the book Things Fall Apart, he looks at how quickly things can change due to colonization. This is shown when Okonkwo goes back to his clan after 7 years of exile, and he sees that the British have changed everything. A quote from Things Fall Apart that shows post-colonialism is, "The white man is very clever. He came quietly and peacefully with his religion. We were amused at his foolishness and allowed him to stay. Now he has won our brothers, and our clan can no longer act like one." So to relate this quote to the topic, he is saying that colonization has tore his clan and his people apart. Things are not going to go back to the way that they used to be. Another author who is an advocate for post-colonialism is Jean Rhys. In her book, Why'd Cigars So See, she looks at how colonization caused families to lose everything and caused them to make sacrifices they never thought they would have. In the book, the main character's mother is forced to marry a white man so they can live a rather better life than they would have if she hadn't married one. A quote from this book is, "After all, the house is a big and safe, a shelter from the world outside which, say what you like, can be a black and cruel world to a woman." This quote demonstrates that how after colonization women were afraid to be their true selves in the world, and they thought that their true self would not be accepted. This also ties into the theme of feminism. Another way that post-colonialism is demonstrated in literature is by Shakespeare's play Othello. So in the play, Othello is being called a Moor and an other because people at that time didn't fully accept people of Othello's race. A quote that shows this is by Iago when he says, "You'll have you nephews nae to you, you'll have courses for cousins and jennets for Germans." So this is when Iago tried to convince Brabantio to not let Desdemona see Othello because he was an other. He then points out that if Othello and Desdemona do get married, that Brabantio's grandchildren will be of mixed race. Lastly, another way that post-colonialism is represented in literature is through the poem Checking Out Me History by John Eggard. So a quote from this poem is, "Dem tell me about 1066 and all that, dem never tell me about Dick Whittington and he cat, but Toussaint Louverture, no dem never tell me about that." So this poem is saying that after colonization, society doesn't learn about the heroes from his history, only from other cultures or American heroes. So now it's time for a little quiz. First question. Which author is a well-known advocate for post-colonialism? A. Chinua Achebe, B. Stephen King, or C. Ray Bradbury? The answer was Chinua Achebe. Question number 2. When was post-colonialism first introduced? And the answer is in the mid-20th century. True or false? Post-colonialism refers to the role of someone who has power and money. The answer is false. Post-colonialism refers to the political and economic conditions that have been impacted by colonization. Lastly, which Shakespeare play demonstrates post-colonialism? The answer is Othello.